Hi, Dave Wilson here again. Now if you've just bought the Cooksons Value rolling mill, I'm going to show you some stuff today that you can do with it, some incredible textures and effects you can achieve. So follow me, step into my office. Here we have the Cookson budget rolling mill, and today I'm going to show you these three rollers and show you some of the textures you can get from them. So what I've got here is a little sheet of 0.7mm copper, and this comes from Cooksons, 150 by 150 mil in a plastic bag. So all I've done is cut it into little squares, and I'm going to use little squares on each one of these rollers to show you the different textures. So the first thing you'll notice is that if you use shears on sheet material, you can sometimes bend the corners, so you can use your rolling mill to straighten it out. So just pop it in the flat rollers and turn them down just so that the rollers are touching the top of the sheet. Not too tight, because you don't want to reduce the thickness. All you want to do is just roll it through nice and gentle, and just to flatten out the edges or any bumps in it, and flip it round the other way so it doesn't get curved, and there you go, one flat straight piece of copper. Now you can also use things to texture in the flat rollers. Here I've got a piece of emery paper. This is very rough, and I'm going to put it face down onto a sheet of polished copper. Now when I put it through my rollers, I don't want to damage my rollers, so I'm just using a piece of spare copper there just as a shim. So I've got my copper on the bottom, the sheet in the middle face down, and a shim on the back to protect the rollers. Sandwich them all together and put them through the rollers. Now you need to be quite tight, quite a fair bit of pressure in order to push that grain of the sandpaper into your copper. So push it through nice and steady, and if you have a look at it, you'll get a lovely kind of sparkly glittery texture. Just take that off, and hopefully you can see that. It's subtle, but it's almost like a flick mop. A nice spettly shiny texture, quite sparkly. It's very nice, that. And here's another close-up of it. Hopefully you can see that a bit better. It's a really nice, very fine texture. Now let's have a look at the textured rollers. Well, here is the first textured roller, and it's got what I call leather on one side, and the other side has little flat straight bars. So if you have a look at the leather texture first, little piece of copper in, just line it up, and again plenty of pressure, nice and tight, so it pushes and it bites in. Now this is difficult to see here, but this puts a crackly kind of worn leather texture on it. So let's have a look at the fine line texture now, and again put that in nice and tight, and this is very subtle. It's made up of very fine lines, but it's almost a satin finish, very subtle. Now if you have a look at roller 2, this is the cross checks and the square checks on it. So we've got the square check here and the diamond kind of cross checks on the right there. So if you have a look at the square check first, put a piece of copper in, again just roll it through. I've just speeded this up, and again a very subtle. You can only really see that when you oxidize it. This is the cross hatching texture. This is like a diamond shape. Again, it's very subtle satin finish, but I'll oxidize these later and let you see them. Now, this is a little experiment. I've got a piece of bent wire here. I've just bent this with a pair of round nose pliers, just twisted a few little loops. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to push this into the surface of the copper. So I'm just going to place it onto the surface there. And again, using a spare piece of copper as a shim, so making a little sandwich with the wire in between, putting it through the rollers. Now you'll notice I'm using the textured rollers. This isn't a problem because I'm just using a piece of scrap on the top, and in fact the grip and the texture on the top roller actually helps to grip the metal and push it through. So there we go, and if we have a look at what we've got now, should be able to see this. and you can see there that the wire has been pushed in and embossed into the surface. Very nice, very clean and very shiny. And here's a couple of others, and I'm going to make these into some pendants later and you'll see the finished product. Finally, I just wanted to say a couple of things about the V-shape and D-shape roller. So to test it out, I've got here 3 little bars, and these are 3mm square silver bars, about 1 inch long, and I've put them through the wire rolling roller, and as you can see the one on the left has gone through the V-shape roller, and you can, if you wanted, rotate it round and get all 3 corners exactly the same. I've just put it through flat. And on the right hand side you can see the domed or half round roller, and of course the one in the middle is still the original square for comparison. Now, an important point to note with this roller is that although you can do the triangular, the square and the half round, because the bottom roller is flat and that's the only one that comes with it, then you can't do round wire. If you wanted to do circular wire, you would need a different bottom roller that's got grooves in it, which this one doesn't have. Just as another idea, these are a couple of pieces of scrap, copper that I put through the wire roller, and as you can see it puts deep wide grooves on them. So maybe that's something you might want to experiment, play around with, just using the wire rollers on their own. So, I bet you didn't realise you could do so many things with a rolling mill. So do play around and check it out, particularly the embossing. Anything that can create a texture, sandwich it in between 2 layers, and you can impress that into your metal. I didn't have any here to show you, unfortunately, but wire mesh is really good. Try that. Emboss it into your silver, oxidise it, and it'll give you a check pattern. Even leaves, you can even press them into silver, oxidise it again, and you'll get some beautiful patterns. So I hope I've given you some inspiration here. Play around, try out different experiments, and above all, have fun. See you next time. I've been Dave Wilson, and thanks for watching.